What is up guys, Delboy here, bringing you a preview for the Amir Khan versus Samuel Vargas card that goes down this weekend. I'll be talking about the main event and running through the undercard to share my thoughts. Obviously we're going to start with the main event, Amir Khan versus Samuel Vargas. Now obviously Amir Khan is on the comeback trail. He was obviously brutally knocked out by Canelo Alvarez back in May 2016. And after that Canelo loss, he was nearly out the ring for 2 years. He made his return back in April this year against Phil Greco. He won that fight by a first round knockout. So he's had one round, or less than one round, in over 2 years. So obviously Khan, in an ideal world, will be taking some rounds by Samuel Vargas. Now Samuel Vargas is very limited. He's not a huge puncher. He's quite rudimentary, he likes to come forward. He'll give it a go, he'll try and let his hands go, but he's very limited. Stylistically, you would imagine that it's the type of opponent to make Khan look good, not a puncher, defensively open and aggressive. You'd imagine Khan would look good against that type of opponent, but Vargas may take Khan some rounds, and I think that's what they want. Vargas, most notably, he actually lost to Danny Garcia. He lost that fight by stoppage. I believe he actually took Danny Garcia 9 rounds. So, he showed in that fight he was relatively durable. And he got stopped by Errol Spence in 4 rounds. Now, that was mainly due to the bodywork of Errol Spence. I don't think Vargas's chin is that bad at all. He's quite tough. He's fairly durable. And I think he can take Khan some rounds, like I said earlier. But Khan should still look good in the process. I think it's probably a good bit of matchmaking before they step Khan up to the next level. I think Khan definitely needs some rounds. And I think a good performance would be if Khan could take Vargas out in between 4 and 9 rounds. Obviously, I doubt he's going to take him out quicker than Errol Spence. But, he'd like to get him out of there before 9 rounds. In between what Errol and Danny Garcia did. If he could do that, I think he would be satisfied with his night's work, providing he looks good and doesn't take too much. I don't really expect Samuel Vargas to have any real success. I think his sole job is to take Amir Khan a few rounds, which will obviously prepare Amir Khan for a big fight in the winter. So yeah, I'm going to go for an Amir Khan win by stoppage, probably the mid-rounds, rounds 5, 6 or 7. That's where I expect Khan to do the job. And I expect him to look good doing it, to be quite honest. Let's talk about the undercard briefly also. There's a couple of bits to look out for. You've got a good British middleweight title fight between Jason Welborn and Tommy Langford. This is a rematch of a fight they had earlier this year. Tommy Langford was actually upset by Jason Welborn. Tommy Langford was the British champion, but Jason Welborn beat him in their last fight. Really good fight. They're going to run it back. That should be a good fight. Jason Welborn, he always comes to fight, he's aggressive, he's a good solid pro, and Tommy Langford is a decent boxer at British level, so that should be a good fight. You've got Scott Fitzgerald, who is a prospect at super welterweight. He's going to be fighting a guy called Craig Morris. It's worth looking out for that purely because they're talking about Scott Fitzgerald fighting Anthony Fowler in a battle of 2 sort of super welterweight prospects. Now, I've never really been a fan of Scott Fitzgerald. I'm not really a believer in him, so it's going to be interesting to see how he looks against a guy in Craig Morris who has a decent record. Craig Morris has a record of 10 wins, 1 defeat, 1 draw, so maybe that represents a step up for Scott Fitzgerald. We'll see how he looks, and it's going to be interesting to see him fight Anthony Fowler down the line, should he beat Craig Morris. Now, I'm not a believer in either Fitzgerald or Fowler, to be honest with you, but I feel Fowler is a lot better fighter than Fitzgerald, for what it's worth. Also on the card, we have the return of Sam Eggington. I'm not surprised about that. Obviously, this card is in Birmingham, so it makes sense to have Eggington on that card. But he's not really going to be fighting anybody of any real substance. He's going to be fighting a guy by the name of Hassan Mwankinyo, whoever that is. Obviously, Sam Eggington recently moved up to super welterweight from welterweight. In his last fight at welterweight, he got outboxed by a guy called Mohamed Mamoune. And in that fight, he kind of looked drained. He looked really, he looked devoid of energy, hence why he moved up to super welterweight. Since he's moved up to super welterweight, he's not really had any big fights yet. This would be his 3rd tune-up fight in this weight class. So after this, you'd expect to see Sam Eggington in a bigger fight. don't be surprised to see Sam Eggington in with the likes of Anthony Fowler at some point next year. I could see that happening. But yeah, Eggington is on the card, ticking over. Also on the card, having a tune-up fight, is Lewis Ritson. He is going to be headlining a card in October in Newcastle, and this is just a tune-up fight, getting him ready for that. So he's going to be on the card. On the card also, you've got prospects such as Gamal Yafai. He's going to be ticking over in a tune-up fight. You also have Crash Ashfaq. He's a decent prospect at super bantamweights. We'll see what he does. And that's pretty much it, really, you know. Not the best card in the world. I think the best fight on that card is Jason Wellborn versus Tommy Langford. I think that's going to be a good fight. But apart from that, there's nothing really too interesting on this card, to be honest with you. Not a great card from Matchroom. And I think they should be doing better for a Sky Sports fight night. If I'm being honest, you know, considering how much Sky charge, you know, I'd be expecting better than this, you know. But it is what it is. What do you guys think? Peace.